Hello and welcome to my channel. Today's video we are going to be making these cute little Baphomets, goats, whatever you want to call them. This is actually my new and improved no-sew body version of one of the first patterns I ever made. A lot of you are still making this pattern, and I just want to say thanks so much for still watching, even with all the sewing that is involved with this one. So what I consider a no-sew body pattern is we start off by making the arms and the legs, and then we move on to the head. We work our way down and we attach the arms. We work on the body. We add the eyes, add the legs, stuff and close up. And then we will have to sew on the muzzle and the ears and the horns, and then a little bit of embroidery at the end. For this video, I used a number 4 medium weight yarn, 18mm safety eyes that I painted on the back, and I will put a link down in the description for a video on how to do that, and a 4.25mm hook. This is a crochet along, so I will be doing every stitch with you, and I am also providing a drop down at the top of the screen with the pattern instructions for the first 30 seconds of every row for you to follow along with. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button and click that bell. Not only will that help me out, but you will also be notified every time I load a new video, as well as any likes, shares, and comments are always appreciated. I think that's everything. So grab your yarn and let's get started. All right, we're going to be beginning with the hooves, so grab whatever color you have decided to use. And you can begin any way you prefer, as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'll be making a knot with a loop on the end, as if I was going to be making a chain. And I insert my hook, grab my yarn, pull up and chain 1. And remember, that does not count as a stitch. That just attaches our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, we are going to do 6 single crochets into the loop over top of our tail. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then pull that tail to close that hole if you need to. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And for row 2, we are going to do 6 increases, so that's 2 single crochets in every stitch all the way around for a total of 12. So increase 1 and 2, increase 3 and 4, increase 5 and 6, increase 7 and 8, increase 9 and 10, and our last increase 11 and 12. Row 3, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that sequence all the way around for a total of 18. So 1 single crochet for 1, increase for 2 and 3, and then repeat that around. 4, increase, 5 and 6, 6, 7, increase, 8 and 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, and our last increase, 17 and 18. All right, now for our next row, we are going to be going in the front loops. So instead of going in and underneath both of those V's, you're going to come down, go up through the center of the V, and just catch that top loop. And this part is important because in our next row, we are going to be using the back loops to give a little ridge around the edge. So row 4, in the front loops, we are going to be doing 18 single crochets all the way around. Whoops, yeah, I'm not great at it. It's been a while. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then if you're doing it right, you're going to have it kind of coming down a bit, and these back loops is where your stitches will go in the next row. So continue on. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Now we are going to slip stitch into that next stitch. Whoop. Then we're going to chain 1. And now we're going to flip our work so we're seeing these back loops. And now we're going to do 18 single crochets all the way around in the back loops. Sort of a little tricky. If you keep this folded down, it helps a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and that last one, 18. And sometimes that one's tricky to get, so you just got to dig in there and grab a piece. And then we're gonna be going in this next stitch right here. Remember, we did a chain 1, so we don't want to go down in this stitch. So for row 6, we're just going to do 18 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Row 7, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 decrease, repeat that all the way around for a total of 12. And you're welcome to do invisible decreases if you prefer. So 1 decrease for 2, 3, decrease for 4, 5, decrease for 6, 7, decrease for 8, 9, decrease for 10, 11, and our last decrease for 12, we're going to grab our yarn and come up, grabbing the next stitch and come up, and we're going to leave those 3 loops on the hook because we're going to change now to our main color. So I'm going to cut my accent color off and then grab my main color. And we're going to tie those 2 ends together nice and close to the hook. Two or 3 times. And then you're going to grab that new color and pull it through those 3 loops left on your hook to finish off that 12th stitch of the last row. Now for row 8, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 decrease, repeat that all the way around for a total of 8. So 1 decrease for 2, 3, decrease for 4, 5, decrease for 6, 7, and our last decrease for 8. Rows 9 to 17 are just going to be 8 single crochets all the way around, and I'm going to do those consecutively. So that's 8 times 9 is 72, so I'm going to do 72 single crochets, and then I'm going to flip my marker every time I hit a set of 8. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, flipping my marker, but I'm going to keep on counting. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, flipping my marker, but I'm going to keep on counting. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, flipping my marker, keep on counting, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, flipping my marker, keep on counting, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, flipping my marker, keep on counting, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, flipping my marker, keep on counting, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, flipping my marker, keep on counting, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, flipping my marker, keep on counting, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72. And now we'll take our hook out, remove our marker if we used one, and then we'll add some stuffing and close it up. Okay, so grab your stuffing. And it may be a little tricky to get down inside the arm, seeing it's only 8 single crochets. I used to do this with a pen or my crochet hook, but I got a great tip from a viewer quite a while ago now, that if you grab your scissors, you can just poke that in there so nice. So I'm kind of using the palm of my hand to keep this part from going up and out. And I'm just going to keep adding till it's firm enough that it doesn't squish very much, but I'm not stretching any of those stitches. You don't want to see your stuffing coming through, especially if you're using a dark color for the hoof. And then you're just going to lightly stuff the top part of the arm, kind of evenly, and then not quite to the top, because you don't want that arm to stick straight out. So this is firm and this is quite squishy. And then once you have that all stuffed, you're going to reinsert your hook. Now for the arms, we have to do 4 more single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and what that does is get us so that this back chain 1 is on the back of the leg. So if you only have to do 3, I'm doing 4, you may only have to do 3, and then now you're going to fold it in half, and you're going to insert your hook in the next stitch. It's a little hard to see the white, I know. And then you're going to stick your hook in the last stitch. And now we're going to do 3 single crochets across through both sides. So 1, 2, and 3. And then you can tie that off, leaving yourself a little bit of a tail. Even though we're not sewing these on, I do something with the ends that helps make them a little less floppy when we're finished. So if you have just finished your first arm, I'm going to put a screenshot in the next frame with a timestamp, and you can go back to the beginning of the arm and do your second arm. And if you've done both your arms, just keep on watching and we'll move on to the next part. Okay, now we're going to do the legs. So grab whatever color you've chosen as the hoof color. And again, you can begin any way you prefer as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'll be doing my knot with the loop on the end like I was going to be making a chain. Insert my hook, grab my yarn, chain 1. Remember, that does not count as a stitch, that just attaches our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, we're going to do 6 single crochets into the loop over top of our tail. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then just grab that tail and pull it to close that hole if you need to. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And for row 2, we're going to do 6 increases, so that's 2 single crochets in every stitch all the way around for a total of 12. Increase 1 and 2. Increase 3 and 4. Increase 5 and 6. Increase 7 and 8. Increase 9 and 10. And our last increase 11 and 12. Row 3, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that around for a total of 18. 1, increase, 2 and 3, 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, increase, 8 and 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, and our last increase, 17 and 18. Row 4, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. So 1, 2, and an increase, 3 and 4. Repeat that around. 5, 6, increase, 7 and 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, increase, 15 and 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, and our last increase, 23 and 24. Row 5, we're going to be going in the front loop. So remember, you're going to go down and catch that first, the front loop of the stitch. And we're going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, come on, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and then we're going to slip stitch into the next stitch, chain 1, and then we're ready to flip it over and go into those back loops we just made for the next row. Okay, so for row 6, 24 single crochets all the way around in the back loops, and make sure you're going in the next stitch or you'll have problems when you get to the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if you're struggling with this, keep in mind I'm using my finger and my thumb to hold down that last row we just made so that these stitches kind of pop out for me. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. And then our next stitch, remember, we'll be going over here because we have that chain 1 right close from the last row. Row 7, we're going to be doing 2 single crochets, 1 decrease, repeating that all the way around for a total of 18. So 1, 2, and a decrease for 3, 4, 5, and a decrease for 6, 7, 8, decrease for 9, 10, 11, decrease for 12, 13, 14, decrease for 15, 16, 17, and our last decrease for 18. Row 8, we are just going to do 18 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Row 9, we're going to do 1 single crochet, 1 decrease, repeat that all the way around for a total of 12. 1, decrease for 2, 3, decrease for 4, 5, decrease for 6, 7, decrease for 8, 9, decrease for 10, 11, and our last decrease for 12. We're just going to go in twice and pull up, leaving those 3 loops on the hook, and now we're going to change our color. So I'm going to cut that one off this time. And then you're going to grab your new color, and we're going to tie that on nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can, 2 or 3 times. And then you're going to grab that new color and pull it through those 3 loops to finish off that last stitch of the last row. Rows 10 to 15 are just going to be 12 single crochets all the way around, and I'm going to do those consecutively again, so that's 6 rows of 12. 12 times 6 is 72, so I'm going to do 72 single crochets and flip my marker every time I hit a set of 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then I'm flipping my marker, but keep on counting. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, flipping my marker, keep on counting, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, flipping my marker, keep on counting, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, flipping my marker, but keep on counting, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, flipping my marker, keep on counting, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72. Now this is where I stopped in my pattern, but the ones I've been making lately, I've been doing 2 or 3 more rows. So if you want your leg a little longer, do 2 or 3 more rows and then you'll finish off the exact same way. We're going to do that right now. So I'm going to take my stitch marker out and grab some stuffing. Okay, so just like you did the arm, we're going to put quite a bit down into the hoof. We want that nice and firm. Kind of push it out to the sides a bit. Just getting into them corners there. And then once you have it how you think you want it, we'll just add a little bit into the top part. If you stopped your leg where I stopped, you're going to want to stuff it pretty close to the top. And then if you did a couple extra rows, you can do stuff it about 3/4 of the way. So basically the last couple rows you added, you won't put stuffing in. All right, now we're going to insert our hook back in. Fold it over, and we want to go in the next stitch and the last stitch again, just like last time. And we need to have 6 stitches across, so we're going to do 2 single crochets, an increase, and 2 single crochets for 6. So 1, make sure you're going through both sides, 2, then we're going to do an increase, 3 and 4, then 2 single crochets for 5 and 6 in that end there. Then you're going to tie that off, leaving again a little bit of a tail. So if you've just finished your first one, again, I'm going to put a screenshot over in the next frame so you can go back and use that timestamp to start your second leg. And if you have finished your second leg, just keep on watching and we will move on to the next part. All right, now we are going to start on the head, and you again can begin any way you prefer as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'll be doing my knot, whoops, with a loop on the end like I was going to be making a chain. Grab my yarn, chain 1. Remember that does not count as a stitch, that just attaches our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, going over the tail, we are going to do 6 single crochets into the loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And for row 2, we are going to do 6 increases. So that's 2 single crochets in every stitch all the way around for a total of 12. So increase 1 and 2, increase 3 and 4, increase 5 and 6, increase 7 and 8, increase 9 and 10, increase 11 and 12. Row 3, we're going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. 1 increase, 2 and 3, 4 increase, 5 and 6, 7 increase, 8 and 9, 10 increase, 11 and 12, 13 increase, 14 and 15, 16 increase, 17 and 18. Row 4, we're going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. 1, 2, increase, 3 and 4, 5, 6, increase, 7 and 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, increase, 15 and 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, increase, 23 and 24. Row 5, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 30. 1, 2, 3, increase, 4 and 5, 6, 7, 8, increase, 9 and 10, 11, 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, 23, increase, 24 and 25, 26, 27, 28, and our last increase, 29 and 30. Row 6, we are going to do 4 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 36. 1, 2, 3, 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, increase, 17 and 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, increase, 23 and 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, increase, 29 and 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, increase, 35 and 36. Row 7, we are going to do 5 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 42. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, increase, 6 and 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, increase, 13 and 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, increase, 20 and 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, increase, 27 and 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, increase, 34 and 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, increase, 41 and 42. Row 8, we are going to do 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 9, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 10, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 11, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 12, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 13, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, oopsie, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 14, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 15, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 16, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 17, we are going to do 5 single crochets, 1 invisible decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 36. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then our invisible decrease, we're going to go in the front loops of the next 2 stitches. So 1 front loop, 2 front loops, grab your yarn, pull through. You'll have 2 loops on your hook, grab your yarn again and pull through those 2 loops. And there's your invisible decrease. So that was 5. That was 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then our invisible decrease, make sure you're going to the front loops, is 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, invisible decrease through the next 2 front loops. Got 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, invisible decrease, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, invisible decrease for 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and our last invisible decrease for 36. So I don't usually do the invisible decreases on the body, but you're about to see why we're doing them now. Our next row, row 18, is going to be 18 invisible decreases all the way around. So we are decreasing in every stitch. And I'm not going to say invisible decrease, I'm just going to count. So every time I count a stitch, it's an invisible decrease. So remember the front loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, oopsie, I'm not great at them either, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. And if you have more or less stitches left, it's very tricky sometimes when you're first learning, especially to get in the right stitch, because it looks like you need to go in the same stitch that you did a decrease in. Just pull it out, redo it. You want to have this next row ready with 18 stitches. So you need 18 stitches right now in this row, because the next row we are attaching the arms. So grab your arms and get them ready. And for this row, I will be breaking it up across the top as we go, because it's going to be a bit of a long one. And we are going to start with 3 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3. Now grab one of your arms, and you're going to want to have the string facing the front. So where our stitch marker is, and we just started, is the back, and that way our little kind of dip and our chain 1 will be in the back and not showing in the front. And we are going to do 3 single crochets through the arm and through the head. So in the first stitch of the arm and the next stitch of the head, that's 1, through the arm, through the head, that's 2, and then the last stitch of the arm and the next stitch of the head, that's 3. And now we're going to do 6 single crochets across the front to make sure you're going in the next stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now grab your other arm, and this time it's going to go the other way. Strings facing the front, and that little divot there in the back where we chained into the back. And we're going to do 3 single crochets through the arm and through the next stitch of the head. So that's 1 through the arm, next stitch of the head, that's 2 through the arm, and the next stitch of the head. And then we should have 3 single crochets left to finish off the row. 1, 2, 3. Row 20, we are going to be doing 2 single crochets, 1 increase. We'll repeat that all the way around, and when you get to these strings, make sure they stay on the outside so that they're free for us to use later on. So 1, 2, increase, 3 and 4. And repeat that around. 5, 6, increase, 7 and 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, increase, 15 and 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, I'm about to do our last set here. 21, 22, and an increase, 23 and 24. Row 21, we are going to be doing 24 single crochets all the way around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 22, 24 single crochets all the way around. I apologize if you hear crinkling. I got an ice pack on my lap. It's so hot up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 23, 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. Row 24, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 increase. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 30. 1, 2, 3, and an increase, 4 and 5, 6, 7, 8, increase, 9 and 10, 11, 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, 23, increase, 24 and 25, 26, 27, 28, and our last increase, 29 and 30. Row 25, we are going to do 30 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Row 26, we are going to do 30 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. Row 27, 30 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Row 28, 30 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Row 29, 30 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Row 30, 30 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. All right, now we are going to add the eyeballs and prep our little guy for adding the legs. So you're going to begin by just flattening your guy out, using the arms to kind of center him or her. Okay, so we're going to put our eyes between rows 10 and 11. So you want to find your first starting center loop, and that's going to be your row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that right in between rows 10 and 11. For right now, you're just finding your row. And then I'm going to take a pin and mark my center. So we kind of go from between your top center to about the center of the arms and just kind of come up. And I actually think I might actually be in the center. So I'm going to put my pin right there in a stitch, not in a hole. So I've got a hole on each side of my pin. Just have a look. If you feel like you're centered, grab your eyes. And you're going to go over 4 holes from your pin. So there's your pin. 1, 2, 3, and in that 4th hole, and then you're going to do the same thing. Whoops, I put the wrong one on the wrong one. I'm matching my other guy, so I need a blue eye on this side. And then on the other side, find your pin stitch and 1, 2, 3, 4 into that 4th hole. And if you have eyes like mine, I get that little tiny, see that little tiny, that's where I carved off the little piece of plastic that comes on there. I make sure they're pointed kind of towards, diagonally towards the nose, and then they kind of can cover that part up. So have another look if you are happy with the placement. We'll put the backs on. So I just put my thumb on the eye, push it out through the neck, and then grab my back. I know I've had a few people say they've had a hard time putting their eyes in at this stage. So I don't know if that will help you. So thumb on the eye, up through the nose or the neck hole. And then put your back on as tight as you can get it. And if you want, we can add a little bit of stuffing now. The legs are next, and it is a little bit easier to add your stuffing before you add your legs, just so they're not in your way. And you want to stuff this head fairly firmly, especially if you're going to shape the face a little bit and bring the eyes in. But you want to be very careful not to stretch your stitches. The most common place is going to be at the neck here where we did all those decreases. See, I have no stuffing in there, and there already is a bit of a space there. So I'm just holding my neck and then trying to stuff all the way around. I used to take my fingers and kind of go to the sides a bit if you want a wider head. So let's do that on this one. I feel like he needs a little bit more, but he's really close. I'm just going to put one more patch in. If you're doing a plush one, whoopsie, you're going to use a lot of stuffing. Usually when you think you have enough, you need almost twice as much more. You want a plush one to be really firm in there. You don't have to worry about stretching those stitches if you're using the right hook with your yarn. I was so worried about adding the eyes before I added the legs that we actually still have one more row before we add the legs. So row 31, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 decrease, repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. So 1, 2, 3, and a decrease for 4, 5, 6, 7, and a decrease for 8, 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, 14, 15, and a decrease for 16, 17, 18, 19, and a decrease for 20, 21, 22, 23, and a decrease for 24. Okay, now we're going to add the legs. So get your little guy nice and flat with your arms. Ideally, what you want to have is 12 stitches on the top and 12 stitches on the bottom. But don't worry about the bottom, they'll be staggered between a row. As long as you have your 12 stitches across the top, they'll be nice and even. Now, if you're left-handed, you may be doing this row in reverse, where we'll have most of our stitches on this side. At the beginning, you'll have most of your stitches on the end. But as long as you have your 12 across, so I'm going to start, our first leg's going to start here. So I'm going to start counting over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that is where our first stitch of our leg is going to go. And if you're left-handed, you might be on the opposite side as me. And I'm just going to mark that off in case we're not all in the same place. That's a weird way to do it. All right. Get your hook back in. And if I marked mine right, I should have 8 single crochets across. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So my leg is going to go in that next stitch where I marked, and don't worry if you have a different amount of stitches, as long as you marked your 12 in the front. So now I'm going to grab a leg, and I think I want the pink one. Whoops. And you want to make sure you have that little divot where you did the chain 1 up, so the front of the foot is facing the front of your body. And we're going to do 6 single crochets across through the leg and through the next stitch of the body. So that's 1 through the leg, through the body. That's 2. String through the leg, through the body. That's 3 through the leg, through the body. That's 4 through the leg, through the body. That's 5. and through the leg and through the body. That's 6. Now you're going to grab your other leg. I'm sorry if this is hard to see. I just have a really bad angle here, I think. And again, make sure that that little divot where you chain one on the foot is in the back, and the front of your hoof is facing the front of the body. And we're going to flip this string in to the inside and then line up our foot. And we're going to do 6 single crochets through the leg and the body. Make sure you're going the right stitch and you're not in the same ones. Not usually this tricky. 1 through the leg, through the body. That's 2 through the leg, through the body. That's 3 through the leg, through the body. That's 4 through the leg, through the body. That's 5, and through the leg, through the body. That's 6. Flip that string to the inside, and then we should have 4 single crochets left. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, you may have a different stitch count at the end of the beginning than I do. Alright, let's tie our strings in here too before we go any further. So these are your 2 leg strings. You're just going to tie them nice and loose, just so that these aren't pulling each other. So you want there to be a little bit of tension there. So nice and light, and then slowly a little bit tighter as you go. And then give them a little trim. And now we only have about 3 rows left, so if you need to, you can add a little bit of stuffing now, but I'll be waiting until closer to the end. All right, for row 33, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. So 1, 2, and a decrease for 3, 4, 5, and a decrease for 6, 7, 8, and a decrease for 9, 10, whoops, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, yeah, 14, and a decrease for 15, 16, 17, and our last decrease, 18. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of stuffing here now. You don't need to stuff your body quite as firm as the head, just enough to hold him up. I'm going to need to open this up a little higher. Okay, Now for row 34, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 12. 1 decrease for 2, 3 decrease for 4, 5 decrease for 6, 7 decrease for 8, 9 decrease for 10, 11 and a decrease for 12. Add a little bit of stuffing again if you need to. Don't need that much. At the very end, I like to stick the stuffing out towards the butt a little bit to kind of push it out so he sits nicer. Plus you want to have this nice and flat. So flat and kind of out to the back. And then that will help a lot when you go to sit him down. So I think that's enough. Now for our last row, row 35, we're going to do 6 decreases. You may not have to do all 6 depending on what yarn you're using. Excuse me. So I'm going to do 6 and you do however many you feel like you need to. So 1 decrease. 2 decrease. 3 decreases. 4 decreases. 5 decreases. And 6 decreases. Sorry, my voice is going funny here. Excuse me. And then you're just going to slip stitch in that last stitch and tie off, leaving a little bit of a tail just so that closed. So I'm going to remove my stitch marker now. And we'll thread on our tail here. And what you're going to do is you're going to weave in and out of the top loops of your last row all the way around. If you are using plush yarn, you may want to go through halfway and then give it a pull and then finish off the other half before you tighten, because that yarn does break really easily, especially if you didn't do the last 6 decreases. And then once you're done, you're just going to give that a pull, close that hole, and then I like to give it 1 tie or knot before I put it through. And then just bring it down in the center somewhere and out the back. And give it a little bit of a tug to bring the knot to the inside of your work. that. Oh yeah, we got these arm strings. So thread on your arm string, doesn't matter which one you do first. And you're going to put that in right where your last stitch of your arm went. So right there where your yarn's coming out. And you're going to pull it through the middle of the neck in the back. And then do the same thing for the other side. Thread your needle. Get in that last stitch where you attached your arm. And then you're going to bring it out the middle of the back, exactly the same hole that your other piece of yarn came out of. And you're going to give them one tie, keeping track of the ends. So once you've tied it, we're just going to wrap them around the neck. Whoops. Then you're going to bring him forward. And you're going to give those strings a pull, and it's going to bring these knots and his arms forward. So the knots will go in, and then the arms will come forward. Careful not to break your yarn. And once you're happy with where they are, you're just going to give that a good tie. And then thread those ends back inside and out. Oh, come on. I told myself I was going to make myself a yarn stitch marker. And then, oh my goodness. Is it me? Or is it my needle? Let's see. It's because I'm doing it left-handed, I think, or something. There we go. So, back in that same hole and then out somewhere. Give those a cut. And there we go. All right, now we're going to make the muzzle, and this time we will have to do the knot with the loop on the end because we're going to be making a chain. So you're going to fold your yarn over, grab that end, wrap it around your finger, down and around and through. Give that loop a little pinch and then slide your knot up. Ideally, you want your loop to be just a little bit bigger than your hook. Insert your hook, and we're going to chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now we're going to go into the second chain from the hook. So this loop does not count. This is your first chain. This is your second chain. So in that second chain, we're going to do 1 single crochet, and this is going to count as an end stitch. And then we're going to do 4 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we're going to be working in this last end stitch, and we're going to do 3 single crochets and pivot our work around as we go so we end up on the other side. So 1 single crochet, oops, pivot a bit, 2 single crochets, pivot all the way, so you're now on the other side, and 3 single crochets. Now we're going to do 4 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to put 2 single crochets in this end stitch on this side. 1 and 2. Now grab your stitch marker, and for row 3 we are going to put an increase in this first end stitch. So increase 1 and 2 in the same stitch. And then we're going to do 4 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to do 3 increases around the end. So that's 2 single crochets in every stitch around. So increase once, increase twice, and then increase your third time. That gets us around to the other side, and now we're going to do 4 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we should have 2 stitches left, and we're going to do an increase in each stitch. So 1 increase and 2 increases. Row 4, we are just going to do 20 single crochets all the way around. So make sure you're in that first stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Row 5, we're going to do 20 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Row 6, 20 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And that is our last row. So we are going to slip stitch now and then tie off, leaving enough of a tail to sew that on. With my stitch marker. Okay, now we're going to do the horn. And again, this time you can start any way you prefer, as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'll be doing my knot with the loop on the end. Insert my hook. Grab my yarn. Chain 1. Remember, that does not count as a stitch. That just attaches our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, we're going to do 5 single crochets into the loop over top of our tail. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then give that tail a pull to close that hole if you need to. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And for row 2, we are going to do 5 single crochets all the way around for a total of 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, whoops, and 5. Row 3, we're going to do 5 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Row 4, we are going to do 1 increase and 4 single crochets for a total of 6. So increase 1 and 2 in the same stitch, and then 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. Row 5, we are going to do 6 single crochets all the way around, and it's going to start getting a little easier here after this row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Row 6, we are going to do 1 increase, 5 single crochets for a total of 7. So increase 1 and 2 in the same stitch, and then 5 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Row 7, we are going to do 7 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Row 8, we are going to do 1 increase and 6 single crochets. So increase 1 and 2 in the same stitch, and 6 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Row 9, we are going to do 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Row 10, we are going to do 1 increase and 7 single crochets around. So increase for a total of 9. 1 and 2 in the same stitch, and 7 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Row 11, we are going to do 9 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Row 12, we are going to do 1 increase and 8 single crochets for a total of 10. So increase 1 and 2 in the same stitch, and 8 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Row 13, we are just going to do 10 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Row 14, we're going to do 1 increase and 9 single crochets for a total of 11. So increase 1 and 2 in the same stitch, and 9 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Row 15, we are going to do 11 single crochets all the way around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Row 16, we are going to do 1 increase, 10 single crochets for a total of 12. So increase 1 and 2 and 10 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Row 17, we are going to do 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 18, we are going to do 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 19, 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 20, 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 21, 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 22, 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 23, 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oops, and that's the last one. So let's take out our stitch marker and we are going to slip stitch in the next stitch and then tie that off, leaving a bit of a tail for sewing it on. Alright, now we're going to add some stuffing, and the very first little bit you want to do, you want to just get a little bit down into the tip. So you will probably need something to help you. I'll be using the ends of my scissors. And you want to get that all the way in. And if you can't, for some reason, get in this very end, you can stick your hook or a smaller hook in, come down past your stuffing, and then just give it a little pull till you have it right up to the top, and then I just flip my hook out, and there I have that little ball of stuffing right there. So you want that kind of a nice tight little piece there. And then just slowly add more stuffing. Careful not to stretch your stitches. You can add wire here if you want to. If you want them to hold their shape in a certain direction, wire or I'm not sure if those little hair curlers would fit in here or not. You can try, if you have short little bendy hair curlers, you can try those. Just be wary or consider where it's going. If it's sitting on a shelf or to an adult, you probably don't have to worry about what you put in. But if it's going to a child, think about whether or not you want to use the wire or not, because if it does poke out through the end, that will definitely be a safety hazard, and nobody wants that. And don't worry about how it's bending right now. If you're not using wire, after it's attached, you'll kind of mold it how you want it to go. Just do make sure that you have the opening stuffed really good, and that will help it stay round when you go to sew it onto the head. Alright, so if you've just finished your first one, again, I will have a screenshot with a timestamp in the next frame, so you can go back and do your second one. And if you are finished your second one, just keep on watching for the next part. Alright, now we're going to start on the ears. And I will honestly admit, this might be the whole reason it has taken me a year to video this, because I did not want to make more ears like this. But we'll do them nice and slow and we'll get her done. Grab your accent color, and you should be able to start this any way you prefer, like all the rest of the pieces, as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'll be doing my knot with the loop on the end. So I grab my yarn, chain 1. Remember, that does not count as a stitch. That just attaches our yarn to our loop. And row 1, going over top of our tail, we are going to do 6 single crochets into the loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then grab that tail and give it a pull to close that hole if you need to. Now you probably don't need a stitch marker for this, but just in case you're unsure of your stitches and your stitch count, I will use one so you can see what I'm doing. So for row 2, we are going to do 6 increases, so that's 2 single crochets in every stitch all the way around. So increase 1 and 2, increase 3 and 4, increase 5 and 6, increase 7 and 8, increase 9 and 10, and our last increase 11 and 12. And then you're just going to slip stitch in that next stitch and tie off. You don't need much of a tail. We're just going to be tucking these inside in between. So this is the inside of your ear. And now you're going to grab your main color. And again, you should be able to begin any way you prefer, as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. Insert my hook, grab my yarn, chain 1. Remember, that doesn't count as a stitch. We're just attaching our yarn to our loop, and for row 1, we're going to do 6 single crochets into the loop over top of the tail. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then pull that tail to close up that hole. Now for row 2, again, you probably don't need a stitch marker, but I'll use one for the video. We are going to do 6 increases, so that's 2 single crochets in every stitch all the way around for a total of 12. So increase 1 and 2, increase 3 and 4, increase 5 and 6, increase 7 and 8, increase 9 and 10, and our last increase 11 and 12. And then again, you're just going to slip stitch in that next stitch and chain 1. All right, now we need to put our 2 pieces together, and we want to make sure we have the wrong sides facing each other. So for me, the easiest way to tell is when I can see the V's on top here, that's my right side. And if you flip it around, you see it's a little bit different of a stitch, and the V's are facing away from you. So I want both of these sides to be facing each other. And I also want to be crocheting on the front because the accent color is going to be on the front. So I'm also going to flip it around now. Do I have both sides? Yep. And at the same time, we have to line up our slip stitches. Okay. Once you have both wrong sides facing each other and both your slip stitches lined up, for row 3 we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 18, and we're going to be going through both layers. So the stitch in front of our slip stitch is where we're going to put our first single crochet, and then on the other side, here's our slip stitch. So we want to go into this stitch right here. So sorry, it's white and hard to see. So this will be 1 single crochet, and now we're going to do an increase in the next stitch through both sides. So that's 2 and 3 stitches, and now we're just going to continue around. Just make sure you're going in the next stitch on both sides. 4, increase, 5 and 6, this will be 7, increase for 8 and 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, whoops, increase, 14 and 15. And we're almost done, so we just want to make sure that all our strings are inside. So we're just going to push them in. So our next stitch will be 17. And then our increase, or sorry, 16, and then our increase, 17 and 18. And row 4, we are just going to do 18 single crochets all the way around. And we're going to start just behind this first single crochet of the last row. So in this, right behind there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. All right, let's get rid of our stitch marker. And now we're going to fold it right where we ended here. What we want to do, again, a little bit of trickery and imagination. We want to go over into this stitch right here. And and the stitch we were just in. So we're kind of folding it in half and going backwards. So we're in these 2 stitches right here. And we're going to do a single crochet. And we're just going to make up a stitch right here in the next row behind. And do another single crochet. So basically we want to have 2 single crochets here on the end, just so we can attach it to the head. And then we'll just cut that off, tie it and cut it off. I'm leaving enough of a tail to sew it on. So there's one. So if you have just finished your first one, I will again put a screenshot over in the next frame with a timestamp so you can go back and do your second one. And if you are finished your second one, just keep on watching and we will move on to the next part. All right, now we are going to add the muzzle. So first thing we want to do, oops, I better turn my light on. Get some stuffing, and I like to roll mine kind of after taking a lot of pieces apart. I've learned that it kind of compacts, and this is very helpful when you're stuffing the muzzle so that you can get a lot in there, but at the same time you can keep it nice and flat across without it spilling out. Once you have what you want for stuffing in there, we are going to center the muzzle just under the eyes. So this is the row that we put the eyes in, and we're going to go 1 row down, and that is where we're going to line up and center our muzzle. I think I got it right there. Make sure you're even on both sides. Then you're going to grab your pins. Oops, I'm going to use that one. Let's put a pin right in the center for now. And then we're just going to start pinning along the top into that row. So I start in the center. And then I'm going to go over a couple of stitches, and I'm going to bring that right up to where I want that side of the mouth to be. And I got to match it on this side. And then once you have those 3 in, you're going to go to the bottom, and you're just going to let it fall wherever it naturally sits. I'm about 1 row or 2 up from the neck, and I'm going to put a pin down there. Make sure you catch a piece. I'm getting in a hole here, so let's get in a stitch. There we go. I'm going to do 3 on the bottom, kind of on the flatter side. Just double check you're still centered and even. And then you're going to start doing it on the sides. You may have to pull out a bit so you catch both of the pieces of the stitch. I don't know why my pinning's not going good today. This side I don't have to move quite as much. And you can put just about a stitch in every, or sorry, a needle or pin in just about every stitch. The more pins you have, the less chance of it moving on you as you're sewing it on. I think I'm good there. I think so. Now I have it a little higher here than I do on the other side, so I am going to just let that drop down a little bit. There we go. Now I'm going to take my pin out so it's not in our way, but if you're putting one in the center, you keep yours in there. Then we're going to thread on our needle. Oh, and I also have a, oh, sorry about that. And also, a couple months ago, it dawned on me, if I use an elastic to scooch the arms down, they help to stay out of my way. So just give them a little twist if you want to try that. Now we're going to start, oh yeah, I haven't done this kind for a while. We're going to start on the side here where our string is, and we are going to go down and around a row underneath the muzzle. It doesn't matter so much if it's the same color, but if these were two different colors, this is what's going to keep your stitching from showing through on the outside. And then you're just going to come up the next stitch. And then you're going to go down the next stitch around a stitch in the head. And you're going to go up the next stitch. You won't be squeezing yours as hard as mine. I'm just trying to keep it in view for you guys. Down the next stitch and around a stitch in the head. Up the next stitch, and you're just going to keep going around just like this. And every once in a while, just double check that it hasn't moved on you. But if you have enough pins in there, you should be able to push and pull around the edge here as much as you want without it moving. And then this is my time to offer any little tidbits and info for those of you that have stick around and watch the whole video with me. So I'm just going to mention that down in the description, I have all my social links. I have a craft page where I have all my patterns or videos, I guess. If you ever want to share any of the things you've made with me, you can go there. You do have to go into a post and comment. You can't post directly. I'm not sure why, but they changed that a couple of years ago. Even I can't post on it unless I switch over as a page manager. There's also TikTok and sorry, while we're going across here, I'm just going to say I make sure I'm staying straight across this line, and that will help you keep your nose straight. So as far as TikTok and Instagram, they are there, but I mostly just use them for posting videos. I can't figure out the notifications. They're at the top, they're at the bottom. Sometimes you see them, sometimes you don't. So, and I can go sometimes like 6 months without even opening that app. So if you want me to see something, please go to my Facebook page. And then I also have links down there to other projects. And then I also have, just in the last month or two, I've started adding all my yarn and hook and eye size info. Sometimes I'll have suggestions for hook sizes if you want to try in the plush yarn. And speaking of the plush yarn, I have seen, I would say probably half the things I've made in the plush yarn, and they're all work out and end up super cute. Okay, now I'm at the beginning here where I first started. So I'm going to go past my knot, down and around, and then I'm going to tie it here. So I'm just going to try and find a stitch, and I have my plastic needle, so I have to be very careful not to break it. So that is one of the stitches that I sewed it on with. It's not a part of the head or the muzzle. And then that way you can tuck that down underneath, and you shouldn't be able to see your knot when you tie it. Sorry, I'm a little far away, but unless this is the first one you've watched of mine, you've watched me do this a million times. And then you're just going to pull it out the back somewhere. You're going to give it a little pull to hide it. And I do need to get my other needle because I don't want to break that one. And then I just kind of move these stitches around a bit just in case I pulled them too much. Alright, so there's your nose. I'm going to take this off now. And now we're going to do the next part. Alright, for these horns, we're going to just center them right about here, just on the inside, or sorry, the outside of that loop, our starting loop. We want our first stitch to go down in between the first and the second row. And we are going to pin them on. So just kind of see where you want them. I kind of keep mine pretty centered this way. So let me try and pin these on so you can see. So right where I start, I want a pin. And then I'm going to pin on the other side. These needles are in my way. Okay, that's better. And you'll want to pull the stitches out so they stay round. And as you go around, then they won't cave in on you. I'm just going to go all the way around, and then I'm going to put more pins in between each pin. So I have 4 pins on each side, and then I'm just going to put a few extra in. Whoop. I don't know why this is so awkward today. So see, I'm pulling them out. And when you feel you have it secured, just double check that it's where you want it. Don't worry about what this does yet. You'll fix that later. And let's get I think I'm going to use my middle one. Get a hook and thread our needle. Whoopsie. That's a mistake. And we're going to do the same thing as we did on the muzzle. Which way do I want to go? I want to go this way. So I'm going forward. So again, down and under. And then up through the next stitch. You may have to give this one a good pull so that knot goes down and around. Then you're going to go in your next stitch, staying under the horn. This is why you wanted to pin it the way we did, so that when you go under, you're not pushing it in. as well as when you stuffed it right to the edge. And just down and around. Back up through the next stitch. I just caught a bit of stuffing. Try not to do that. Down and around. We're getting close to the beginning now. Now you see how you can't see a single one of my stitches around there? That is the trick. And don't worry if you're not getting it yet. I've done a million of these, so I've had a lot of practice sewing all these guys together. So I just went past my knot and around and back, just like I did on the muzzle. Don't cinch it in too much because it will pull your stitches in. I might have done it a tad much. I'm just going to have to remember that when I do my other one. So now I'm grabbing a stitch here that I sewed on, a couple stitches back, and then I'll tie my knot. And then we are going to put that down and out somewhere to try and hide it. Now I can't remember if I tied these together. I think I am. So let's tie these together just for some security. So I pull that knot down and we're just going to let this string hang out here for now. And grab your other horn and thread that on. Now this is the trickiest part, getting these even. So for me, if I did it and they weren't quite right, I would go back, undo the pins, and then reattach them, because I like to have them, I'd rather, you know, have it right before I start sewing than feel like I need to take it apart. And I kind of just will go around from that side to this side and just see where that is sitting. So I want it to be in this row here. That should really help keep it even. Oh, look at that. I got that too close. I'll work around it. So this is coming around here, so I want that back a bit. All right, and now I'll put my other pins in. And one more. Okay. Now you're ready to start sewing. So I went this way on this one, so I'm going to make sure I go front and around on this one. So I'm going to go down and around that row between rows 1 and 2, like I did on the other one. And then I'm going to go up my next stitch. And just like I did before, we're just going to go around, up and down, catching all our stitches. Yeah, I didn't know if I would like it, this one in white, but now that I'm getting the horns on, it's looking pretty cool, actually. This one was so hard for me to pick colors for. I've actually started them many times. I really, really wanted to do them in that neon retro stripe. I had them all the way done and stuffed, and then I just didn't like how it went with how it striped. Like the head was really nice, and then the body seemed like it was all the same color. And then I was chopping it up so that the arms matched the body and trying to guess what color I would need in it for the legs. It's still sitting there in pieces. Now you shouldn't have to worry about this, but I just got to be careful not to catch that blue when I'm going around here. Unless you did the same thing as me. Oop, I can't get in there. As I can get in, I just can't get out. Oh, there we go. Alright, I'm coming around to my end here again where I started. So I need to go back up this stitch, I think. So I'm going around my knot now and then backwards to tie it to a stitch. Oh. Or I think I am anyway. So I'm just going to go in this stitch right here. I don't know why it seems so dark. Hopefully it's just the way I'm looking at it at an angle here. So you tie your knot. Because I went right there, it's going to be a little bit funny, but hopefully you're doing this over here somewhere, a little more in the center. It'll be the same idea. You'll just tie those two together. Just keeps them more secure because they're not only tied on the outside by the horn, but they're also tied together, so these ends shouldn't really ever come out. And then we just need to go back in that same hole we came out of and out. And since I'm using white and I've got a darker color here, I'm going to grab a ton of stuffing as I come around and out so you don't see a line of those colors coming down the back. I should have my pliers here. There we go. And give it a good pull so that knot isn't in there. And then let's cut all these strings. Oh, and here I'm going to show you another little trick. If you ever do this and your ends don't quite squeeze back inside the head, just take your hook over a few stitches and just kind of swipe them down and around, and that'll get rid of those ends. All right, now let's get the ears. I just realized I put the horns on the wrong side after keeping these colors all the same as my other one. So I guess I have a blue horn here. I want a pink ear here. All right, so for the ear, all we're going to do is kind of line it up just right in this crease where the horn and the head meet. We're going to hold on to that. I'm not going to bother pinning it. It's just 2 stitches. And we're just going to go around the row that's just under the horn. So just like that. Then we're going to go through the last stitch of the ear here on the bottom. Then we're going to go around the row in the next stitch over that we just went around. So we were in this one, now we're moving over one, and we're going just where it meets the horn and the head. And then through that next stitch that we made when we folded those ears. And now you can go around again if you want. I'm going to go around and come up 1 stitch back. Go back into that ear. And after doing my beaver, I decided I didn't like the ears floppy, so I'm just going to hold it and I'm just going to tack a little stitch to the head and tie it because I want them to stay not floppy. Can't hold it and do that at the same time. So I'm going to go in the next row down with that. So there, they're not quite as floppy. Then I'm going to tie it right close somewhere. And this time we want our ends to come out here somewhere in the middle of the head. Because we are going to do the same thing we did with the arms if you liked the way that worked out. All right, so grab your other ear. And now we have to do the exact same thing we did on the other side. So we're going to come right in here and we're going to go around that row that matches up. And then we got to go around this back stitch of the ear. And then we're going to do the same thing in the next stitch around that row. In that first stitch of the ear. And then if you went around again, we got to do that. And then we're just going to catch that back of that ear. And remember, we did one more stitch down here, so we got to do that to match it. Just double check before you tie it off. Oh, maybe I should have it like this whole time. And then you're just going to tie it there, somewhere close to the ear and the head meeting. Then you're going to come back in close to the ear and come out, whoops, in close to the ear and come out where your other string came out. Now we'll give them a tie. Keep track of your strings, flip them around. And just slowly bring those ends together and watch how your face gets shaped. So you might want to do it really tight, or you might want to do it loose. I'm going to go tight with this one, I think, because my other one was on the looser side. And then once you're happy with it, you're just going to give them a tie. And then you'll thread those ends out. So you go back in that same stitch and out. And if you get a little hole like I have right here, using a metal needle, you can just kind of pick at that stitch and pull it out. Oops, I think there we go. So I'll fix that better later. I think I had a tiny piece of thread between my needle when it came out. So they weren't exactly in the hole. Alright, and now we are gonna shape the eyes in a little bit. So grab your a scrap of your matching base color. So I'll be using the white. I'll thread that on. And we're going to start in the center of the head. This is where we'll be tying it. And we're going to come out in the same row where we put our eye posts in. And I started doing this a different way now. I used to go just straight down into the diagonal stitch, but now I go around the eye, and I just feel like that keeps these stitches from stretching. So now you're going to go in this stitch on a diagonal from the eye, and you're going to match that on the other side. So we're going to be coming in this stitch. And if you went around the eye, go around the eye on this side. Whoop. Depending on how tight you got your eyes, this will be a little easier or harder. And then you're going to go again in this first row where you started, right on the inside of the eye. And you're going to come up and out where your first thread went in. And you're going to give those one tie, just like we did the arms, the horns, and the ears. Now this time you probably have to push these in. Give it a bit of a pull and a tighten. Just keep doing that until they're where you want them. I think that's close enough. Remember, they will relax a tiny little bit. I just like to get that puff, kind of giving them a bit of a bridge of a nose. And then we'll thread those ends back on. And put them in where they came out and out the back somewhere. Cut those ends off. Whoop. And if you have a hole there, like I do, just going to take your needle and kind of push those stitches around a bit. Now I'm not giving him eyebrows because he's got the star, but if you did, you would do the same thing like we did the eyes, only you're going to go up about here, and then about 3 rows over and about a row down, and just play with the way you want them to sit. Alright, now I got to think a little bit about how I did the star. But I know for sure we're going to pin it first. So I'm going to start from our center loop. I'm going to do 1, 2, and go in between rows 2 and 3. That's going to be the top point of my star. And then I'm going to go down 5 rows straight down. So starting where my pin is now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to put my pin right there in the center. Now this is just marking my stitch. Now I'm going to go over 3 holes, 1, 2, 3, and then the third one, and 3 on the other side. So 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to get, these are the 2 bottom points, so I don't need this one anymore. Now I'm going to go up 2 rows from this line we have pinned, 1, 2, and I'm going to mark that as my center. And this time I'm in a hole. I'm going to go about 3 holes over. So 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. So see how that looks. I feel like this maybe has to go over 1 more. Alright, I'm going to get rid of that pin now. And I'm going to thread on, since I did the horns backwards, I might as well do this one in pink since the other one's in blue. So let's thread on our star color. And it doesn't matter really where you start, as long as you are coming up wherever you got your pins at your points. So I'm going to actually insert, let's go over here just in case it's in our way. So I'm going to come out the bottom here, leaving some thread here to tie. Then I'm going to come up to the center one. And I'm going to come out to this bottom one on the other side. Then I'm going to come back up to the center and then just pick a side to go on. I'm going to come back out here where I started. So there we got our upside down V shape. Now let's come over here. Yep. So I'm going to go down there. I'm going to come out here in this hole. Yep. hopefully that's good. I'm going to come back to that one that I was just in. And so that's going to go there. So I need to come back to this side so I can go across there. So I'm going straight across. I don't know how to keep these strings out of my way. And now I got to come to here. And there's going to be my star. And that looks pretty good. And then now I'm just going to come out here to tie. So let me just flip it around so it's easier for me. And my hands aren't in the way. There we go. I mean, I kind of want to say perfect, which is rare, but I think it's good. And then you're just going to tie this. On the looser side, and then tighten it as you go so that you're not pulling your star. Up. Then we're just going to thread those ends out. I hope you guys share what you make with me, because I used to see a lot of these when I first made the pattern. I see some occasionally now, but I hardly see any. So I'd love to see the color combos that you guys come up with. There's so many. And then gently pull this out so you're not pulling your star. Get my arm on it. And again, I'll just close up that hole if you have one. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm just pretty impressed. First time in a year I've done that, and it turned out so good. I think after not being happy with my cat I just made, I think it's nice to be happy with this one, and it's turning out. Alright, now we're going to need a scrap of blue for the nose. Alright, so thread on your black. I don't think we'll need pins for this one. What we're going to do is we're going to come in our middle stitch, so find your 2 end stitches. And this row will be the row where you chained and you went on each side. It's kind of going to be a little open probably. So it should be pretty obvious. And we're going to find the middle. So here's this one of our sides. Here's one of our sides. And of course the middle is right there. Right in a stitch. I don't recall that being anything. So I'm just going in the bottoms anywhere and coming up through that middle stitch. We're going to have to go in it again. We're going to go up 2 rows. 1, 2, straight up, and then over 2 holes. 1, 2. Then we're going to have to get in this stitch again. And that's going to be one side of our nose. And then we're going to go up again to that second row in the center and over 2 again. This time though, we're going to come out here where we started. Just so we can tie that off. And I know in my old one, I had little hairs coming out. So if you wanted hairs coming out, you would come up in the middle and you'd be coming out in the middle. Sorry, I should have mentioned that to begin with. But if you did start this way and you want to make some little hair bands here, you can just go around and come out the center like this with both your strings. It's just an extra step you're going to have to do now. So if you're happy with his little nose, we'll tie those ends. Oopsie. This hasn't happened to me in a long time, and now it's happened twice. Bumbly bumbly. It's a good thing you guys are patient with me because boy am I making a mess of this one now. And then again, you're just going to come back in that same hole and then out. I like to still go out the back if you can. Your needle's long enough to reach. Or if you went down, I guess, you'd be cutting them there. So I'm going to swoop that little blue side. I did pull this a little bit, so I got to undo it, loosen it up. Oh, I am quite happy with this one. Now I just need him to photograph as good as he's looking in here. All right, so now we need to give him a little tail before we finish. So you're gonna have to make the knot with a loop on the end because we're gonna make this with a chain, and leave some tail at the end for tying. So wrap your yarn around your finger, round and through, hold that knot and pull it tight. Then we are going to chain 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now we are going to do 5 slip stitches starting in this second chain from the hook. So not the one on your hook, not the first one, but this second one. So 1 slip stitch, 2 slip stitch, 3 slip stitches, 4 slip stitches, 5 slip stitches, and now we're going to do 5 single crochets. 1, oopsie, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then tie that off. Again, leaving a tail on the other side for tying. And now we need to make some little colorful ends for the tail. And all I'm going to do is grab a bunch of little scraps that I've cut off while I was cutting off all my ends. And I'm just going to cut them. Mine are probably going to be a good 8 inches long. They don't have to be that long, but the longer they are, the easier they will be to thread through. So I'm just gonna, so I have 3 of each color, so 6, which will make me end up with 12 altogether. That might be a lot to pull through, so let's just, what you're gonna do is you're gonna stick your hook down in one of the very end stitches. Try and get 2 at least, 2 chunks of yarn around your hook. Wrap your yarn over your hook, and now you got to try and get that through that stitch. Hopefully they come through first try. There we go. And once they're through, you're going to put your fingers in that hole you just made. Grab all the ends and then pull them through. And then you're just going to tighten that up. And I like to pull every one and then it's nice and tight everywhere. But it does take a second to do, especially if you miss one. I think I got them all. And then I like to flip it, so whatever end I ended up putting where it's going around this way, I like that to be my top. I'm going to take our little guy. Where did I put this one? Yep, up high. And I always put this somewhere different. I think I've said that a million times now. But I like it to be up probably about a quarter to a third of the way up the back from where he sits. So if he's sitting like this, I'm going to put it somewhere around here. So let's just see where that ends up. So if I count from my center here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm about between 7 and 8 rows up. Just most importantly is make sure you're centered. So I'm going to go over 1 stitch and down to the next row. And then we're going to take the other end of our tail and do the same thing, but on the other side of the row. So I went in here, I'm going to skip a stitch, and I'm going to go in the next one. I'm going to come out in the same spot that I was in with my other thread. Then I'm just going to tie those. Oh boy, I sure make a mess at the end of these. I need that still. And we'll put these ends through. And then put him out the back somewhere. I guess I'm going in the bottom. Make sure I pull that knot nice and tight. Trim those ends. And I'm also going to trim, I mean, this is way too long, unless you like it like that. Actually, it does have its charm too. So just pick whatever length you want. Remember, if you're pulling it tight, it is going to end up a little shorter. So I'm going to go for about there. And I think we are done. Oh, Froggy. Oh, he turned out great. Oh yeah, and if you want to try and shape the horns, all I did with this one is I've just kind of gone like this, put them how I wanted them this way, and then bent them back this way. So this is just plain and simply me manipulating the stuffing on the inside. If you ended up putting wire in, I can guarantee you're going to make some pretty cool horns. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button and click that bell. Not only will you help me out, but you will also be notified every time I load a new video, as well as any likes, shares, and comments are always appreciated. And don't forget, check down in the description. There might be a few things that interest you there. And as always, take care, be safe, and happy crocheting.